Hello my friends, and welcome back to the studio. David Kessler here. Today I want to talk to you about painting from photographs. Oh, correction. I want to talk to you about not painting from photographs. This is kind of a soapbox thing for me. I detest painting from photographs, and people that are students of mine know that I talk about this in workshops as something that you should not do. There aren't a whole lot of, hard and fast rules in art. This is one that I always say, for me, this is a hard and fast rule, never to paint from photographs. And so many students do it. This is a scourge in the art community. And it's even a further a scourge that many people that teach art classes say, okay, let's paint from photographs. How about let's not paint from photographs and learn how to be a better painter? And the reason I bring this up is because my whole goal as a painting instructor is to get you to be a better painter. And painting from photographs will not make you a better painter. It gets you into some very bad habits that you really need to break free from. Here's what I don't like about painting from photographs. I think it's a great idea to use photographs as a reference for paintings. I have no problem with that. The problem I see is that students typically can't say, okay, this is just a jumping off point, or this is just a reference point for doing a painting. What happens is they get a photograph in front of them, and what they want to do is replicate everything in the photograph exactly as it is. Okay, number one, you're never going to learn to be a better painter by doing that, because you're always going to be copying what's in a photograph. Number two, what's in a photograph is not actually a composed painting. It's simply a photograph. You have to learn how to compose a painting, compose a composition, create your own composition, because things in a photograph aren't going to be arranged properly to make a center of interest, to have your values correct, to have a harmonious color combination, right? It's just a photograph. I mean, here's what I always say for people to do. Use the photograph as a reference to create a value study. Right? So in doing a value study, you're composing within the rectangle, not copying the photograph, but simply using it as a reference and having all the elements in there. I mean, there's got to be something in the photograph that you wanted to paint. Right? There's a reason for doing the painting. So use that as your your center of interest for your composition, and do some value studies, and then take one of those value studies that works the best, whichever value pattern you like the best, use that for your painting, and then don't ever look at the photograph again. There's a real danger in painting from photographs, and you're not going to be the painter you want to be if you're reliant on painting specifically from photographs. You'll never be the painter that you can be, that you should be, that you want to be, because you're dependent on the photograph, and you'll take that photograph and you'll want to replicate it because it's right there in front of you. Easy peasy, right? I mean, the sky's blue, the grass is green, the rocks are gray, and bam, that's a color combination. No, it's not a color combination. Green, gray, and blue are not a color combination on the color wheel. Right? That is not a color combination. It's not harmonious. It has no color harmony. Right? So replicating photographs is a dangerous business. You have to learn how to create a composition using, if you want to, a photograph as a reference for that. A jumping off point, a starting point, not for replication. Right? This is where students get into trouble. And a perfect example of this is on typically one of the days in our workshop. We'll talk about alternate methods for composition development. I just get up and paint with no pre-planning. But if you're a pre-planner and you want to pre-plan a composition, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with planning. And actually, it's a great tool. If you don't know how to do a value study, you need to learn how to do it. It's one of the best planning tools available to artists. Anyway, one of the approaches is to take, a photograph that you may have in your studio, use a little viewfinder that isolates a part of that photograph, and use that as a jumping off point for a composition. Well, what I find students, they'll find a little place on the photograph, sometimes good, sometimes not, as compositions go, and they'll take that thing and they'll replicate exactly what's in that photograph. You know, it's just meant as a jumping off point for shapes and values to make a painting from. It's not meant as something to copy or to replicate, right? So I want to get you out of that dependence on photographs. It's just not a healthy way to be a painter. That's copying, right? It's copying. You don't want to do that as a painter. You want to create something that's new. So use if you want to use photographs as a reference, use them just as that. Use them as a reference to begin a composition, to begin the development of a composition. And my recommendation is always use the photograph as a beginning point. Make a value study and a composition based on that. Then put the photograph away. Don't ever look at it again, and only use the value study as what you paint from. You know, and I wouldn't advocate this had I not done it. I did it for 20 years. That's the way I painted. Every time I did a watercolor painting, I always did pre-planning. Sometimes I used photographs. Lots of times I used photographs as a starting point, but then rearranged the composition onto a value study and then did the painting. Never looked at the photograph again, right? Because you want to create something new. You're as an artist, your job, so to speak, is to create something new. Create something that people haven't seen before. People want to see the world through your eyes as a collector. That's why they collect art. They want to see how you see the world. And if you're just replicating photographs, that's not how you see the world. That's not as good a painter as you can be. And I want you to be the best painter you can be, the painter you've always wanted to be. So to do that, you know, painting from photographs will not get you there, right? So in your studio this week, I want you not to paint from photographs. Take a different approach. Take a photograph, use it as a reference to make a value study, right? So change the composition around in the photograph, change the composition around, change the values around, right? Get your color wheel out, build a color combination from the color wheel for the composition. Use the value study to paint from and put the photograph away. Do not look at the photograph after you've done your value study. That's your assignment for this week. And I guarantee you, with practice, this will make you a painter that you couldn't even believe you could be. You'll be a better painter, a more creative painter. You'll be better with color. You'll be better with composition. Now, it's going to take some work to wean yourself off of photographs, but it will be worth it. You'll be the painter you've always wanted to be, and I guarantee it'll happen for you because it happened for me. All right, until next time, I'll see you.